Hey guys, Brad from RotoHeat.com back at it with the top 12 running back plays for week 2 to help you with your fantasy lineups. Number 1 overall, no surprise, Christian McCaffrey of the Carolina Panthers. He looked to get a fairly full workload. He had 21 carries, almost 5 yards a carry, looked really good against the Jets defense. Looks to continue rolling into week 2. At number 2, Alvin Kamara, New Orleans Saints. We anticipated him needing to be heavily involved in this offense. And they got up early and they stayed strong on the offense and the defensive side. And he didn't have to do as much as we anticipated. Tony Jones got a little more involved. Jameis, obviously threw 5 touchdowns, which wound up putting Kamara as a back-end RB1 in week 1, but that's okay. He's still an RB1 and he's going to move up and continue to be heavily involved in the offense. He's a great play. At number 3, Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings. Another guy who had an off week. He actually finished in the RB2 conversation with when you look at the fantasy points overall, but that's okay. Another guy that the offense needs to run through and be heavily involved, so feel good starting him this week. Number 4, Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers. We know that he was fairly non-existent, as was much of the Green Bay offense for much of the game. That being said, he's going to bounce back in a big way against Detroit. Don't be alarmed. Start him, start him, start him. At number 5, Austin Eckler of the Los Angeles Chargers. He did a good job in week 1. Was it more of an RB2 when it comes to overall fantasy production, but this is another running back that you can feel safe slotting into your lineup on a weekly basis this year and feel good about it. Number 6, Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. Now, this one's going to be an interesting to watch throughout the season. This whole offense did not look great against Arizona. Was it just rust from not a lot of preseason time together? We'll see. We still feel good about starting Derrick Henry, at least at this point. Number 7, Nick Chubb, Cleveland Browns. This guy came in at number 2. If you look kind of at overall fantasy production for week 1, he came in just behind Joe Mixon, who is another guy that was heavily involved in week 1. But feel good about Nick Chubb, and really that entire Cleveland offense looked good. So feel good about them. At number 8, Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas Cowboys. Zeke did very little in week 1, unfortunately. If you watch that game like most of us, they bottled him up. So this is another one that you want to keep an eye on. The big thing for a guy like Zeke is La'el Collins is out for a few weeks. Zach Martin comes back. So you have an elite guard coming back. We're thinking that really does help spring this Dallas running game, and we think Zeke is going to be the beneficiary here. So definitely feel good about putting him in your lineup this week. At number 9, Antonio Gibson, Washington football team. With Fitz out, Tyler Heineke steps in. They're going to need to want to run the ball to set up the pass, give them some time. I think, and we think, because obviously this is a consensus ranking, that this will be good news for Antonio Gibson. Number 10, Chris Carson, Seattle Seahawks. Carson always seems to be a bit under the radar in most people's books, but he does a great job in this Seattle offense. Definitely a guy you want to start in week 2. Number 11, David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. He finished as a top 5 back week 1 when it came to fantasy production. I mean, he looked electric with the ball in his hands. He did a great job. There was a little injury scare, came back, still did a great job. Definitely start him. And rounding out the top 12, Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis Colts. He was a guy that did not finish strong. He was kind of a middle RB2 in week 1. This Indy offense got stifled a bit by Seattle. We got to see what happens, but Taylor's one of those guys that you want to have in your lineups because with the ball in his hands, he's awesome. So let me know in the comments below, what are you changing about this top 12? Are you in certain guys that I didn't mention? DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, some of these other guys that had a big week 1, Melvin Gordon. I don't know. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon.